What is going on, Raidernation? It's your boy Simon Raider back at it again with yet another video today. I just wanted to kind of talk about all the latest news that's been going around the Raider Nation, and there's been a lot of updates, a lot of things going around. We know that the Raiders really need a head coach. We know that the Raiders need a GM, and we know that the Raiders are going to be doing their due diligence in hiring both positions. Now, some news came out today. According to Vinny B, he put it out there in the atmosphere and said that things are starting to heat up with Ben Johnson, tweeting out a lot of momentum building for Ben Johnson and the Raiders. What do you mean by that, though? I mean, we already know that the Raiders are really interested in Ben Johnson, and he seems to be the likely candidate to be the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And we know that the Raider Nation really loves Ben Johnson, and if the Raiders were able to get him in here and hire him, especially knowing that he wasn't even going to take an interview with the Raiders, just goes to show you how much influence Tom Brady has with this team. Shout out to the GOAT. Hopefully he could turn this whole organization around, and I hope that the Raiders can turn the tables next season and go into the playoffs. But we can't do that if we don't got the right pieces in place. And Ben Johnson, even though he has no head coaching experience, it could either go both ways. He could end up like Josh McDaniels, who was a great offense coordinator and didn't really do shit in the NFL as a head coach, or he could end up like a Sean McVay, or he can end up like a Kyle Shanahan. He could be one of those home run hitters for the Raiders. But hearing that, and hearing that Vinny B just dropped this today, also shout out to Honda Carpenter. He also posted something as well saying the Raiders could actually be at the top of Ben Johnson's list, saying, I was told last night that for Ben Johnson, the Raiders make more sense because he doesn't want to go up against the Lions and Dan Campbell being in the same conference. Whether that's true or not, I think also the allure of Tom Brady was a factor. And Brady is making decisions with the Raiders. It feels like he is making decisions with the Raiders. I mean, I don't think it's a secret at all that, Tom Brady is making the decisions over here, but, just thinking about the offensive mind that Tom Brady has as a quarterback and, in the NFL, paired up with Ben Johnson's offensive mind, I feel like could do so much wonders for the Raiders, especially on the offensive side of the ball, which we struggled in for these past couple of years. Now, Ian Rappaport also doubled down on this and believes that Ben Johnson could be the next head coach of our Las Vegas Raiders. And if the Raiders do end up bringing in Ben Johnson, then hey, I can't be mad at that, man. I know that I was kind of worried about him not having any head coaching experience, but the sky is the limit, and I'm just down for whoever we have. I'm going to support anybody because at the end of the day, I'm a Raider fan. I don't really have any more control than any of these players or any of these fans have, so all we can do is just go out there and root for them to hopefully turn things around. I thought the same thing with John Gruden, the same thing with with Josh McDaniels, even with AP. I mean, we're just going to run it all back this offseason and see what this team can do, making moves and hopefully bringing in the right pieces to help this team win next year. Now, moving on, though, to some other news. Of course, GM has been one position that the Raiders have been doing their due diligence, and just last night and even today, the Raiders have went out and requested a lot of interviews. One name that I want to bring up, that I want to highlight, is Lance Newmark. Now, there's reports going around, according to Sean Reed, Washington Commanders assistant GM, Lance Newmark is a potential candidate for the Las Vegas Raiders' vacant GM position. Newmark has 28 years of experience in the NFL, including 26 seasons with the Detroit Lions. He most recently held a role as a senior director of player personnel for Detroit and helped oversee both college and pro scouting operations. He also assisted with the weekly management of the Lions roster and assisted Lions exec, vice president, and general manager Brad Holmes with the implementation of Holmes' scouting vision throughout the entire personnel department. If the Raiders have the ability to hire Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, there is a possibility the two can reunite in Las Vegas, only if he is interviewed. I know he didn't get interviewed just yet, but it's just interesting to see his name kind of brought up now in the Raiders space, because I've talked about this. This was one guy that I believe that could easily pair up with Ben Johnson if he became the head coach. They have a long-going relationship going back to Detroit. He's worked with Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. Outside of John Spicek, Lance Newmark is definitely one of my favorites to become the GM of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's done a lot for the organizations he's been a part of, the Lions, then last year with the Commanders. You see, or this past season with the Commanders, you see the turnaround that this team had in just one season, and the Raiders can do the same exact thing. Nothing is out of the realm of possibility for this team. The Commanders went 4-13 to 12-5, and now in the playoffs, they won a playoff game and they're still rolling right now. So I'm just hoping that the Raiders can be good enough to get into the playoffs this next year. Outside of that, though, The Raiders have put out requests to interview 3 more candidates, man. Last night, the Raiders requested to interview Steelers Director of Pro Personnel, Sheldon White, per Adam Schefter. And then also today, the Raiders have also requested to interview Giants Assistant GM Brandon Brown, per Jonathan Jones. And then recently, requesting to interview Chargers Assistant GM Chad Alexander. Now, honestly, these are all different names out there that I haven't really talked about before, but I feel like, of course, like I said before, the Raiders are just trying to cast a wide net and trying to go and interview as many people as they can to get a feel for everybody. I feel like the Raiders already kind of have their favorites right now. It's just trying to see if anybody else can wow them in their interview. And at the end of the day, we'll see who the Raiders do bring in. It seems as of right now, Ben Johnson is the favorite to be the head coach. If not, the backup plan most likely will be Pete Carroll, but the GM position is going to be wide open. And at the end of the day, whoever we bring in as the head coach, most likely Ben Johnson, whoever he decides to be the GM, hey, I'm all for it. I know that that was one thing that Ben Johnson wanted, was to at least have a decision into bringing in a GM, his GM. And then on top of that, you know, he has the cap space and free agency with the Raiders. He can go out and get the quarterback that he wants. And free agency, he could go get the quarterback that he wants in the NFL draft. Everything is out there for him to be the next guy. And I feel like the Raiders' job is intriguing. Even though we had a shitty year last year, we can turn this thing around. We just got to make the right choices, and I'm really hoping that Ben Johnson is that guy for us moving forward. And some other news, I kind of found it kind of shocking. I was scrolling around Instagram, man, and I seen a post, and I was like, you know what? Let me talk about it in this video. Now, according to Adam Schefter, he kind of went out there on a little rant and kind of dropped something, a little bit of a bomb. You know, we all thought that, you know, Tom Telesco was doing everything that he could to move up last year to go get Jayden Daniels. That was the quarterback that everybody wanted. That's the quarterback that we needed. And looking how well of a season he's having, man, how great would it have been to have him on this roster, right? But according to Adam Schefter, though, I guess the Raiders never tried to trade up for Jayden Daniels.
By the way, that's why last year, it's why the Raiders had such an interest in trying to see if they could trade for Jayden Daniels. But by the way, matter of fact, they never made the call at all. They never even tried to get that trade done. A lot of speculation about it, more in the media than within the teams themselves. The Raiders never called about Jayden Daniels.
Now, I really find that shocking, because we all were under the notion that the Raiders really wanted to get him and tried to get him, but weren't able to get him. So you're telling me that you didn't even try? Oh, you deserve to get your ass booted out of the facility, man. And you know what, though? Good riddance. I'm not going to dwell too much in the past. I just thought I'd bring that up to you guys, kind of give you guys my insight on that. But with that said, Raidernation, I just wanted to kind of come on here real quick and just let you guys know that, you know, Ben Johnson, there's a strong possibility he's going to be the next guy up for the Raiders. A lot of things are starting to heat up, and we just got to sit back and relax and enjoy this ride right now and wait until the news officially comes out, because I don't think that the Raiders can really do anything right now until the Lions do get eliminated from the playoffs. So I guess right now I'm just hoping that the Lions lose in the playoffs, man, because we need to find a head coach like right now. With that being said, Raidernation, let me know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. Till the next one, this is your boy Simone Raider and your boys. Yeah.